friends, welcome here. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca, and today I want to talk about minimalism, specifically getting started on a journey towards minimalism. I think the concept is gaining some popularity and is becoming a little bit more mainstream, but I think that most of us still, when we think of the word minimalist or minimalism, we think of a person who lives like in an all-white house with no furniture, so they sit on the floor and they have like one bowl and one cup and one fork and two shirts, and like that's all of their worldly possessions. And while that's accurate, I also think that there are degrees of minimalism and it means something different to everybody. And I think that that typical imagery that is conjured up when we say the word minimalist or minimalism is a little bit intimidating. So I just want to talk about ways we can define minimalism and some tips to get started on a minimalist journey if you're newer to the concept. Let's get started. So let's start by defining minimalism. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, and I encourage you to find a definition that resonates with you. So there's the camp of people who define minimalism by the amount of things that you own, right? Like you're only a minimalist if you own less than 200 things or 50 things or 10 things or whatever the number is to you. And then there's the whole only have things in your life that spark joy, right? That's sort of the Marie Kondo way. The definition that resonates most with me is having things in your life that add value. And what I like about this definition is it gives really concrete boundaries in which I can measure things against. I find myself really getting lost in the gray area of the spark joy concept, and I don't really enjoy the rigidity of owning a specific number of things. So for me, the idea of only having things that add value is the one that resonates with me and the one I'll be sort of talking about most here. Okay, so you've heard a little bit about minimalism, you're thinking about dipping your toe into it, but you're like, where do I even start? I own a billion things and all my stuff is suffocating me and I just want to be a minimalist. What do I do? First thing, take a deep breath. Second thing, know your why. Why do you want to become a minimalist? Why does this lifestyle appeal to you? And just reflect on what it is that draws you to a minimalist lifestyle. It could be that you want to reduce your carbon footprint or save money or reduce anxiety in your life. You need to figure out for yourself what it is that is attractive to you about minimalism before you get started. Otherwise, it's really easy to lose motivation, to lose your way, and to give up on it altogether. So the next thing is to know that there is no right way to be a minimalist, and there's not just one way to do it. So just like there's many definitions of minimalism, there's also a lot of different ways to go about it. So don't ever let anybody tell you that you have too many things to be a minimalist or you're not doing it right. There is no right way. Only you know what adds value to your life, so only you know if you're living a minimalist lifestyle or not. It's not up to anybody else. So for instance, say you love to collect, rocks, right? I feel you. I had a rock collection when I was little and I loved it. So say you like to collect rocks. Your entire house could be filled with shelves and shelves and cases of rocks, and you could still call yourself a minimalist. Why? Because those things add value to your life. Have all the rocks you want and still call yourself a minimalist because you are still measuring the things in your life against the scale of what brings you value. Those rocks are valuable to you and you are still a minimalist. So next thing is to take small bites. Not like when you're eating, but also yes, when you're eating, but when you start to declutter your life. Take it slow, take it in small bits. So for a little backstory, in 2018, my husband and I sold like 90% of our possessions and moved from a house into a 1969 Volkswagen bus. And to do this, to declutter our life so that everything we owned fit in 50 square feet, was an overwhelming task to think about before we had started. We had a house filled with things, and it's almost paralyzing to be in the position of like, I don't even know where to start because there's just so much when you look at the sum of all the parts. But when you break it down into individual parts and smaller bites, it becomes much easier. So I remember we started with decor, like house decor. That was the easiest place for us to start because I felt like we had too much stuff on the walls and like too many knick-knacky things, and I felt like I was dusting things all the time. It was a thing that was already annoying to me and that I already didn't like. So it was really easy for me to pinpoint a place to start and just start there. So I would recommend starting in a place that has little emotional attachment to it. For instance, like clothes or sentimental items, like we left that till the end because we had too much emotional attachment to that stuff to start there. But we had very little emotional attachment to some of the decor in the house, so that was really easy. So start in a place with the least emotional attachment and just take off little bites at a time. So the next thing is remember that minimalism goes two ways. It's not just about decluttering, even though that's the end of minimalism that I think gets the most attention, is the things we get rid of, but it's also the things that we bring in. So not only are we decluttering things from our life, but it's a behavioral change about the things that we then bring back in. So anytime I think that I want to buy something, or I'm at a store and something like grabs my attention, I have that measure of, is this going to add value in my life, on which I can evaluate the object against. Always pause, take a beat. I sometimes take a couple weeks before I buy something. Be as mindful with the things that are coming into your life as you are with what you're getting rid of in your life. Okay, so I'm like rolling my eyes at myself for saying this, but it's a journey. I know, it's like, I just can't think of a better way to say it. Don't begin a minimalist life thinking that there is a time when you're going to be done. It isn't just about a moment in time when you declutter your house and then suddenly you're living a minimalist life. It really is a behavioral change that extends way beyond an initial declutter that happens in your home. So I find one thing that helps me is that we always have a donation box going. I actually keep mine in the car, so anytime that I am near the donation center or the thrift store, I can drop things off. But it is a constant mechanism to release things and declutter your things from your life. So there's not sort of moments in time when you're decluttering, but it's an ongoing process that never ends. So next, I encourage you to allow your definition of minimalism to evolve over time as your life evolves and changes. And also know that your why for being a minimalist could also change over time. For instance, when I started on my minimalist journey, I had two goals: save money, fit all my stuff in 50 square feet. And while I would still consider myself a minimalist today, my why has evolved. I still want to save money, but I've also brought reducing my carbon footprint much more to the forefront. So just know that over time, minimalism might look different for you, both in the number of things that you own, but also in why you're doing it. So the next tip is probably one of the most important, but also one of the most difficult. And that's to remember that this is about you. A terrible place to start is by throwing away like your partner's stuff or your parents' stuff or your roommate's stuff. Like, don't touch their stuff. Let them decide what adds value in their life. So right before we moved into the van, my husband was working in another state for like 3 months. So he was not there. I was doing the last bits of like getting rid of everything in our life. But every single thing that belonged to him, I would either text him a picture or we would like FaceTime and we would go through every single thing because it's his stuff. He needs to decide what adds value to him. And if it's things that we owned together as a couple, we would evaluate them together as a couple. So remember that you are in control of what minimalism means to you and your things and what adds value to you, and let your spouse, parents, friends do their own thing. Don't throw away their stuff. So next up is to remember that this is not just about things, not just about physical objects. And I will say that this concept didn't really start to creep into my life until I had been practicing minimalism for a while, but you start to realize that the measure of what adds value does not just apply to the things in your life. It also applies to your energy, what you do for work, the people in your life. So it becomes a really helpful measure to have a happy and healthy life. But the objects, the things, the decluttering, that end of minimalism is a really accessible way into this. So I encourage you to start building that muscle and starting to become familiar with how to use the measurement of what adds value as a way into minimalism, knowing that it will likely blossom into other areas of your life. So my very last tip for you is to just start. Right now, turn this video off. Wait, no, watch till the end. When you're done watching this video, get up, find one thing in your house, donate it, or if it's trash, throw it away, and just realize the lightness that comes with it, because that will start to snowball the more and more that you do this. So start small, just do one thing and see how things start to change. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel a lot. and make sure you subscribe. I put out new videos every week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, friends. Why are all the dogs in the neighborhood barking? Plus one owl. Shh! Can't even start this video. Please stop barking. Here we go. Don't mess up. Like a minimum. How many times can I say minimal? Oh my god. There's a frog in my throat. Did it. Stop going by trucks.